German Shepherd was painted like a statue and left in public. What baby did next? Left everyone in tears. The story you're about to listen will break your heart and then piece it back together in ways you never expected. What happens when an abandoned dog meets a child with an unexplainable gift? Get ready for a journey that will leave you in tears. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. The crisp autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves as Jack Bennett made his way through Oak Ridge Park. His calloused hands, rough from years of landscaping work, gripped his 5-year-old daughter Emma's tiny fingers. Life hadn't been kind to Jack lately. At 32, he found himself a single father, juggling odd landscaping jobs that barely covered their rent after his wife Sarah passed away from cancer 2 years ago. "Daddy, look at the squirrels!" Emma pointed excitedly, her ballet shoes dangling from her other hand. Her blonde curls bounced with each step, reminding Jack painfully of Sarah. Emma had her mother's hair, but she had something else too, a strange way of seeing the world that sometimes left Jack wondering if grief had somehow deepened his daughter's perception of things around her. "They're collecting nuts for winter, sweetie," Jack said, forcing a smile. The park was their special place, a detour they took every Tuesday and Thursday after Emma's ballet practice. It was free entertainment, and these days, free was all Jack could afford. They rounded the corner near the central fountain when Jack noticed a small crowd gathering around something. Curious murmurs rippled through the group. "What are they looking at, Daddy?" Emma tugged at his sleeve. "I'm not sure," Jack said, his curiosity piqued. "Let's go see." As they approached, the crowd parted slightly, revealing what appeared to be a statue of a German Shepherd. Jack frowned. He passed through this park almost daily and had never noticed a dog statue before. "That's strange," a woman in a red coat whispered. "I walk here every morning, and this wasn't here yesterday." The statue was eerily lifelike, a German Shepherd frozen in a sitting position, its head slightly bowed as if in submission. Its entire body was covered in a metallic gray paint that gleamed dully in the afternoon sun. "It looks so real," someone else commented. Jack was about to turn away when Emma suddenly broke free from his grip and pushed through the crowd. "Emma!" Jack called out, trying to follow her. When he reached her, Emma was standing directly in front of the statue, her head tilted to one side, studying it with an intensity that seemed beyond her years. Jack was about to pull her away when he noticed something that made his blood run cold. The statue blinked. "Daddy?" Emma whispered, not taking her eyes off the dog. "It's not a statue, it's breathing." Jack knelt down, his heart pounding in his chest. Sure enough, he could see the faintest rise and fall of the dog's chest, so slight it was almost imperceptible. What he had mistaken for an artistic detail was actually a living, breathing animal, painted to look like stone. "Oh my God," Jack muttered, reaching out a tentative hand toward the dog. The animal didn't move, didn't even flinch at his approach. Its eyes, the only part of it not covered in paint, were dull and unfocused. "Someone call animal control." A park ranger pushed through the growing crowd, radio in hand. "What's going on here?" "This dog. It's been painted," Jack explained, his voice tight with anger. "It's alive." The ranger's eyes widened as he took in the scene. "I'll call it in right away. Poor thing must be suffering from paint toxicity. They'll need to send someone with proper equipment." "How long will that take?" Jack asked, noticing how the dog's breathing seemed shallower by the minute. "Could be an hour, maybe more," the ranger replied, already speaking into his radio. "They're stretched thin today." Jack looked at the suffering animal, then at the gathering crowd, most of whom were taking photos rather than offering help. His jaw clenched. An hour might be too late. Emma hadn't moved from her spot. She was now on her knees, her ballet shoes forgotten on the ground beside her, her eyes level with the dog's. "She's not a statue, Daddy," Emma whispered, reaching out a small hand to touch the dog's painted head. "She's crying inside." Something in Emma's voice made Jack's chest tighten. It was the same tone she had used when, at 3 years old, she had told him that Mommy's stars were falling the night before they received Sarah's terminal diagnosis. The dog's eyes shifted slightly, focusing on Emma with what seemed like the last of its strength. To Jack's surprise, its tail twitched, just barely, leaving a faint mark in the dirt. "We can't wait for animal control," Jack decided, shrugging off his jacket. "This dog needs help now." "Sir, I really think you should wait for the professionals," the ranger protested. "That paint could be toxic, and if the dog is scared or aggressive—" "She's not aggressive," Emma interrupted with quiet certainty. She's just really, really sad. Jack gently wrapped his jacket around the dog, careful not to disturb too much of the paint, in case it was indeed toxic. The dog was lighter than he expected, severely malnourished beneath the gray coating. As he lifted the animal, it remained limp in his arms, too weak to resist. "I'm taking her to a vet," Jack announced to the ranger. "Which one is closest?" The ranger looked conflicted, but eventually sighed. "Oak Ridge Animal Hospital is 3 blocks east, but, sir, this isn't standard procedure." "Write me a ticket if you have to," Jack cut him off, already moving. "But I'm not letting this dog die while waiting for procedure." As they hurried away from the crowd, Jack couldn't help wondering what he was doing. His bank account was nearly empty, his rent was already 2 weeks late, and now he was rushing to a vet with a dying dog that would likely cost hundreds of dollars to save, money he simply didn't have. "You're doing the right thing, Daddy," Emma said, as if reading his thoughts. She trotted beside him, struggling to keep up with his long strides. She was waiting for us to find her. Jack looked down at his daughter, then at the suffering animal in his arms. Something about the cruel deliberateness of the act, painting a living creature and abandoning it like a discarded toy, made his blood boil. Who would do such a thing, and why? Dr. Mia Chen's eyes widened when Jack burst through the doors of Oak Ridge Animal Hospital, a paint-covered German shepherd limp in his arms and a small girl at his heels. "I need help," Jack said, breathless from the 3-block sprint. "Someone painted this dog and left it in the park. She's barely breathing." Dr. Chen immediately sprang into action, calling for her assistance. "Bring her to exam room 2, now!" The next few moments were a blur as the veterinary team whisked the dog away, leaving Jack and Emma in the waiting room. Emma sat unnaturally still, her eyes fixed on the exam room door, while Jack paced nervously. "Daddy, is she going to die?" Emma's voice was small but strangely calm. Jack knelt beside his daughter, wishing he could offer reassurance. "The doctors are doing everything they can, sweetie." "She can't die," Emma stated with absolute certainty. "She has something important to do." Jack was saved from responding by Dr. Chen's return. Her expression was grave as she approached them. "The dog is stable for now, but in critical condition," she explained. "The paint is toxic. It's blocking her pores and causing chemical burns on her skin. She's also severely dehydrated and malnourished." "Whoever did this?" Dr. Chen trailed off, her professional demeanor momentarily cracking to reveal disgust. "Can you help her?" Jack asked. "Yes, but it will require extensive treatment. We need to remove the paint carefully, treat the chemical burns, run tests for organ damage, start IV fluids." Dr. Chen hesitated. "Mr. Bennett, I have to be honest with you. This will be expensive." Jack's stomach sank. "How expensive?" When Dr. Chen quoted a figure, Jack felt the blood drain from his face. It was more than his monthly rent, money he simply didn't have. "I understand this is difficult," Dr. Chen said gently. "There are some rescue organizations we can contact, but given the dog's condition, she needs immediate care." Before Jack could respond, Emma spoke up. "We have to save her, Daddy." Her voice was clear and determined. "She was waiting for us." Jack ran a hand through his hair, torn between financial reality and the pleading look in his daughter's eyes. "Can I see her?" Dr. Chen nodded and led them to the exam room. The dog lay on a metal table, an IV already attached to one leg. A tech was carefully removing paint from one paw with some kind of solution. Up close, the dog looked even worse, ribs protruding beneath the gray coating, patches of skin red and irritated where paint had been removed. Despite her weakened state, the dog's eyes opened when Emma approached the table. Something passed between them, a look of recognition that sent a chill down Jack's spine. The dog's tail twitched weakly. "She knows we're helping her," Emma whispered, reaching out to touch the small, clean patch on the dog's head. To everyone's surprise, the dog leaned slightly into Emma's touch. "That's unusual," Dr. Chen remarked. "Given what she's been through, I'd expect her to be fearful of humans." Jack watched the interaction, his resolve crumbling. He couldn't afford this. He had barely enough for groceries this week. But the alternative? "How much can you do with a payment plan?" he asked finally, his voice tight. "I don't have much, but I can give something each week." Dr. Chen's expression softened. "Let me make some calls. There's a foundation that sometimes helps in cases like this. In the meantime, we'll start the emergency treatment." As Dr. Chen stepped away to make her calls, Jack sank into a chair in the corner of the exam room, the weight of his decision settling heavily on his shoulders. What was he thinking? He could barely take care of himself and Emma, let alone a severely injured dog. "Daddy?" Emma slid her small hand into his. "Can we take her home when she gets better?" Jack sighed. "Emma, honey, I don't know if we can. Our apartment is so small, and pets cost money for food and care." "But she needs us," Emma interrupted with that eerie certainty again. "And we need her too. You'll see." Before Jack could respond, Dr. Chen returned, her expression slightly more hopeful. "Good news. The Helping Paws Foundation has agreed to cover half the treatment costs, and I can work out a minimal payment plan for the rest." Relief flooded through Jack. "Thank you. I promise I'll pay every cent back, even if it takes a while." "In cases like this, we do what we can," Dr. Chen replied with a small smile. "Now, we need to get more of this paint off and run some tests. It might be best if you take your daughter home and come back tomorrow." Emma immediately shook her head. "I want to stay with her. She's scared." Dr. Chen looked at the dog, then at Emma with a curious expression. "The removal process will take hours, and it's not something a child should watch." "Just a few more minutes?" Jack asked, noting Emma's distress. Dr. Chen nodded. "A few minutes, then we really need to get started." As the vet stepped away to prepare the treatment, Emma leaned close to the dog's ear. "Don't be scared," she whispered. "We found you, and we won't let anyone hurt you again. I promise." To Jack's astonishment, the dog's breathing seemed to steady, and her tail twitched again, a tiny movement, but deliberate. As they were preparing to leave, one of the techs called Dr. Chen over. "Doctor, you need to see this." They had cleared a small section of fur on the dog's shoulder, revealing what appeared to be a brand or tattoo underneath. Dr. Chen examined it with a frown. "What is it?" Jack asked. "Some kind of marking," Dr. Chen replied, taking a photo with her phone. "I've never seen anything quite like it. Almost looks like a company logo." Emma looked at the mark and shivered. That's where the bad people put their sign on her. Jack and Dr. Chen exchanged glances, both unsettled by Emma's comment. "We'll look into it," Dr. Chen assured them. "For now, let's focus on getting her stable." As they finally left the clinic, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the pavement. Jack's mind raced with questions. Who would do something so cruel to an animal? What was the strange mark on the dog's shoulder? And how could he possibly manage another responsibility when he was already struggling to stay afloat? "What should we name her, Daddy?" Emma asked as they walked hand in hand toward their apartment. "Emma, we don't know if we can keep her yet," Jack cautioned. Emma stopped walking and looked up at him with eyes too serious for her 5 years. "Her name is Luna," she stated confidently, "because she was all alone in the dark, but now she's found her light." Jack felt a lump form in his throat. How could he possibly say no to that? Despite all logic and financial sense, he knew in that moment that when the dog survived, she would be coming home with them. What Jack didn't know was that bringing Luna home would set in motion a chain of events that would change their lives forever, drawing them into a dangerous world they never knew existed. A world where dogs like Luna were valuable commodities, and the people who owned them would stop at nothing to get their property back. As they reached their apartment building, Jack felt an odd sensation of being watched. He glanced back over his shoulder, but the street was empty, save for a black car parked across the road, a car he didn't remember seeing before. Shrugging off his paranoia, he ushered Emma inside, unaware that their lives had already begun to unravel in ways he couldn't possibly imagine. 3 days passed with Jack and Emma visiting the animal hospital daily. Luna's condition improved slowly but steadily under Dr. Chen's care. The toxic paint had been carefully removed, revealing a beautiful black and tan coat underneath, though patches of her fur remained thin, where the paint had caused the worst damage. "She's quite remarkable," Dr. Chen told Jack as they observed Luna through the glass of the recovery room. "Most dogs wouldn't have survived what she went through." Inside the room, Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, reading a storybook to Luna, who lay with her head in Emma's lap. The connection between them had only strengthened with each visit. "Any luck identifying that mark on her shoulder?" Jack asked. Dr. Chen nodded, pulling out her tablet. "Actually, yes. I sent a photo to a colleague who works with service dogs. He recognized it immediately." She showed Jack a close-up image of the mark, a stylized shield with the letters PE embedded in the design. "It belongs to a company called Pinnacle Elite. They train high-end protection dogs for wealthy clients." "Protection dogs?" Jack frowned. "Like guard dogs?" "Much more sophisticated than that," Dr. Chen explained. These dogs can cost upwards of $50,000. They're trained in executive protection, threat assessment, and defensive maneuvers. Essentially, living security systems for people who can afford them. Jack stared at Luna in disbelief. The thin, traumatized dog hardly looked like an elite security asset. Are you sure it's the same marking? Positive. I also found this. Dr. Chen swiped to another image on her tablet, showing a small incision on Luna's neck that Jack hadn't noticed before. She has a microchip, not a standard identification chip, but something more advanced. My scanner couldn't read it properly, but it's definitely there. A chill ran down Jack's spine. So, someone spent a small fortune training this dog, then painted her like a statue and abandoned her in a park? That makes no sense. I agree, Dr. Chen said quietly, which is why I took the liberty of looking up this company. Her expression grew troubled. Pinnacle Elite is a legitimate business on paper, but there are rumors in the veterinary community about their training methods. Some say they're unnecessarily harsh, pushing dogs beyond healthy limits to achieve perfect obedience. Jack watched as Luna gently nuzzled Emma's hand when she paused in her reading. The dog's eyes, alert now, though still cautious, followed every movement of Emma's fingers as she turned the page. She doesn't act like she was trained for protection, Jack observed. No, she doesn't, Dr. Chen agreed. But see how she positions herself? Always facing the door, always watching who comes in. That's protective behavior. She paused. There's something else. When I called Pinnacle Elite to inquire about a dog with their marking, they immediately asked for details about where she was found. When I was vague, the person on the phone became insistent, said their dogs are valuable property and must be returned immediately. Jack's jaw tightened. Did you tell them about Luna? Of course not, Dr. Chen assured him. Something felt off about the whole conversation. I said I was just verifying the mark on a dog someone had asked about. But she hesitated, lowering her voice. They knew I was calling from this clinic. My number is unlisted. The implications hung heavy in the air between them. Jack ran a hand through his hair, his mind racing. What should we do? Legally, if she's their property and they can prove it, they have a right to reclaim her, Dr. Chen said reluctantly. But given her condition when you found her, there's clear evidence of neglect or abuse, which complicates things. They painted her and left her to die, Jack said flatly. They're not getting her back. Dr. Chen smiled slightly. I thought you might feel that way. That's why I haven't updated her records with the identification information. As far as anyone knows, she's just a stray you found in the park. Jack gave her a grateful look. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, Dr. Chen warned. If this company is as connected as they seem, they might not give up so easily. She glanced at her watch. Luna's ready to be discharged tomorrow. You're sure you want to take her home? It might be safer to transfer her to a rescue organization out of state. Jack looked at Emma and Luna together, his heart constricting at the thought of separating them. Emma had smiled more in the past 3 days than in the months before. Something about Luna had awakened a spark in his daughter that had been dormant since Sarah's death. We'll take her, he said firmly. We'll figure something out. That night, as Jack prepared their small apartment for Luna's arrival, buying a dog bed he couldn't really afford, clearing a space in the living room, dog-proofing as best he could, his phone rang with an unknown number. Hello, he answered cautiously. Is this Jack Bennett? A smooth professional voice inquired. Who's asking? My name is Richard Kane, Director of Asset Recovery at Pinnacle Elite Security Solutions, the voice continued. I understand you recently came into possession of one of our training animals. Jack's blood ran cold. How had they found him? I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Bennett, Kane's voice hardened slightly, let's not waste each other's time. The animal you found in Oak Ridge Park 3 days ago belongs to Pinnacle Elite. It represents a significant investment and contains proprietary training that is legally protected intellectual property. Jack struggled to keep his voice steady. That animal was painted gray and abandoned to die. If that's how you treat your investments, I'd hate to see how you treat things you don't value. A pause. There seems to be a misunderstanding. The dog in question was undergoing specialized camouflage training when it escaped containment. We've been searching for it since then. Camouflage training? Jack couldn't contain his disgust. You expect me to believe that? What I expect, Mr. Bennett, is for you to return company property before this becomes a legal matter. Kane's voice remained calm, but the threat was unmistakable. We're prepared to offer compensation for your trouble, say $5,000. The sum caught Jack off guard. $5,000 would solve so many of his immediate problems: catch up on rent, fix his truck, maybe even get ahead on bills for once. But then he remembered Luna's condition when they found her, the way she trembled at sudden movements, how she pressed against Emma as if seeking protection from a child. "She's not for sale," Jack said firmly. Kane sighed. "Mr. Bennett, perhaps you don't understand the situation. That dog is the result of years of specialized breeding and over 2 years of intensive training. Its value to our company exceeds $70,000. The training protocols alone are worth twice that." "Then you should have taken better care of your investment," Jack snapped. "Find yourself another dog to torture." "I'd advise against taking that tone." Kane's voice cooled several degrees. "Pinnacle Elite has contracts with very influential clients who expect discretion and results. We're not in the habit of allowing private citizens to interfere with our business operations." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm explaining reality. Return the dog by tomorrow, and the $5,000 is yours, no questions asked. Wait longer, and the offer expires, along with our patience." "Go to hell," Jack said, and hung up. His hands were shaking as he set the phone down. Across the room, Emma looked up from where she was arranging blankets in Luna's new bed. "Who was that, Daddy?" "No one important," Jack lied, forcing a smile. "Just a work thing." Emma studied him with that unnerving perception. "It was the bad people, wasn't it? The ones who hurt Luna?" Jack stared at his daughter. "What makes you say that?" Emma shrugged, returning to her task. "Luna told me they'd call. She says they always find the ones who run away." A chill crept up Jack's spine. "Emma, honey, dogs can't talk." Emma gave him a look that seemed far older than her 5 years. "Not with words, Daddy, but Luna talks to me here." She tapped her temple. "She shows me pictures sometimes, and feelings." Jack sat down slowly on the couch, unsure how to respond. Emma had always had an active imagination, but this was different. The timing of the call, coming right after Dr. Chen's warnings, was too coincidental. "What else has Luna told you?" he asked carefully. Emma's face grew serious. "She ran away because they wanted her to do bad things, and she wouldn't, so they punished her." Emma's lower lip trembled slightly. "They painted her and left her in the park as a warning to the other dogs." Jack felt the hair on the back of his neck stand up. Emma couldn't possibly know about the phone call he'd just received, or about Pinnacle Elite's training programs. Yet here she was, articulating exactly what had been nagging at his subconscious, that Luna's abandonment hadn't been random, but deliberate. A message. Before he could question her further, his phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Consider your situation carefully, Mr. Bennett. We'll be in touch." Jack deleted the message, a knot forming in his stomach. What had he gotten them into? The next morning, Jack dropped Emma at kindergarten, with extra instructions for her teacher to be vigilant about who came near the school. He couldn't shake the feeling that Kane's threats weren't just talk. At the clinic, Dr. Chen had Luna ready to go, along with a bag of specialized food and medication for her remaining skin irritations. "Any more contact from our friends at Pinnacle?" she asked quietly, as she helped Jack fill out the discharge paperwork. "They called me directly last night," Jack admitted. "Offered me $5,000 to return her." Dr. Chen's eyebrows shot up. "That's concerning. They must really want her back." I told them where they could shove their offer. Dr. Chen smiled, but her eyes remained worried. Brave, but maybe not wise. She handed him a small paper bag along with Luna's medications. "This is why." Inside the bag was a small glass vial containing what looked like a grain of rice. "Is this—" "The chip from Luna's neck. I removed it this morning," Dr. Chen confirmed. "I had a friend in tech look at a scan of it. It's not just an identification chip. It's a GPS tracker. Military grade." Jack stared at the tiny device. "That's how they found me." "Exactly. And now that it's no longer transmitting, they'll know someone removed it." Dr. Chen's expression was grave. "Jack, these people aren't playing around. You need to be careful." Jack pocketed the chip, a plan already forming. "I will be. Thank you for everything, Dr. Chen." "Call me Mia," she said, handing him her personal card. "My cell number's on the back. Call anytime, day or night, if you need help with Luna or anything else." There was something in her expression that made Jack pause. Why are you helping us like this? Mia hesitated. Let's just say Pinnacle Elite's reputation precedes them. They're dogs that I've treated in the past. The training methods leave scars that don't always show on the outside. She stroked Luna's head gently. This one's different. She has a gentleness that's rare in protection dogs. Whatever made her run away, I think she deserves a chance at a normal life. Jack nodded, touched by her concern. Thank you, Mia. As they left the clinic, Luna stuck close to Jack's side, her movements still stiff but much improved. Jack took an indirect route home, constantly checking for any signs of surveillance. He stopped at a hardware store to buy new locks for his apartment door and windows, then at a coffee shop where he planted the tracking chip in the bathroom trash before continuing home. His phone rang again as he was installing the new locks. Unknown number. Hello? Mr. Bennett? It was Kane again, his voice noticeably cooler than before. We seem to have a problem. I told you yesterday I'm not... The chip, Kane interrupted. We know it's been removed. That alone is destruction of property worth several $1,000s. Jack's stomach dropped. How could they know already? The chip was supposed to be untraceable once removed. I don't know what you're talking about, he lied. I think you do. And I think you're beginning to understand that you're in over your head. Kane paused. My employers have authorized me to increase our offer to $20,000. That's life-changing money for someone in your financial situation. The amount made Jack's head spin. $20,000 would solve every problem he had, pay off debts, maybe even put a down payment on a small house instead of renting. A fresh start for him and Emma. But at what cost? The answer is still no, Jack said, though with less conviction than before. Kane sighed. I had hoped to resolve this pleasantly. Very well. Since financial incentives don't motivate you, perhaps other considerations will. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Mr. Bennett, that your daughter Emma is currently enjoying recess at Oak Ridge Elementary. Red shirt, pigtails, playing on the swings. Kane's voice was casual, conversational even, as if discussing the weather. Such a bright child. It would be a shame if something happened to her. White-hot rage surged through Jack. If you go anywhere near my daughter... You'll what? Kane asked mildly. Call the police? And tell them what... That a company you stole property from is trying to recover it? That your daughter talks to dogs? Think about how that will sound. Jack's mind raced. He wanted nothing more than to rush to Emma's school, but that would only confirm Kane's power over him. What do you want? He managed through clenched teeth. The same thing I wanted yesterday. Return the dog to us by 5 p.m. today. Come alone to Westfield Plaza, north parking garage, top level. Bring the dog, and this ends. No one gets hurt. The line went dead before Jack could respond. He immediately called Emma's school, asking them to check on her. The secretary confirmed she was fine, still at recess under teacher supervision. Jack asked them to keep her inside for the rest of the day, citing a vague family emergency. Luna watched him from her new bed, her intelligent eyes following his every move as he paced the small apartment. What am I supposed to do? He muttered, running his hands through his hair. They're watching Emma now. Luna whined softly, rising from her bed to press against his leg. Despite her still recovering state, there was strength in her posture, a readiness that hadn't been there before. Jack's phone buzzed with a text from Mia. How's Luna settling in? His fingers hovered over the screen. Should he tell her what was happening? Involve her in this mess he'd created? But then, she already was involved, having removed the chip and hidden Luna's identity in her records. They found us, he typed back. Threatened Emma. Want Luna back by 5 p.m. today. Mia's response came quickly. Don't give in. Meet me at my office in 30 minutes. I have an idea. As Jack gathered Luna's leash and a few supplies, his phone rang yet again. This time, it was his boss at the landscaping company. Jack, I don't know how to tell you this, the man began awkwardly, but we're going to have to let you go. What? Why? Jack was stunned. He'd been with the company for 3 years, never missed a day, always took the jobs no one else wanted. Orders from above. Some big client threatened to pull their contract if we kept you on. I tried to fight it, but his boss sounded genuinely regretful. I'm sorry, man. I can give you 2 weeks severance, but that's all. Jack thanked him numbly and hung up. The walls were closing in faster than he'd imagined possible. Within hours of removing Luna's tracker, they had threatened his daughter and cost him his job. What else could they do? As if in answer to his unspoken question, his phone buzzed with an email notification. The subject line froze his blood. Emma Bennett, school photos. The attachment was a series of pictures of Emma on the playground, taken from a distance but crystal clear. In the last one, she was looking directly at the camera, her expression curious. The message contained just one line, 5 p.m., don't be late. Jack's hands shook with rage and fear as he deleted the email. These people had been watching his daughter, photographing her without anyone noticing. The violation made him sick. Luna pressed against him again, more insistently this time. When he looked down, her posture had changed. Alert, focused, her ears forward. She wasn't seeking comfort, she was offering protection. "We're not giving up," he told her, scratching behind her ears. "Not yet." He grabbed his keys and Luna's leash, determination hardening his resolve. Pinnacle Elite thought they had him cornered, but they had overlooked one crucial fact. Jack had nothing left to lose except Emma and now Luna. And for them, he would fight with everything he had. As they left the apartment, Jack didn't notice the black SUV that pulled away from the curb a discreet distance behind them, nor the man inside who spoke quietly into his phone. Target is on the move with the asset, proceeding as planned. The game was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Jack arrived at Mia's veterinary clinic with Luna, constantly checking his rearview mirror for signs of the black SUV. The normally busy waiting room was empty. Mia had cleared her schedule for the next hour. "Thanks for coming," she said, locking the door behind them. "I've been doing some digging into Pinnacle Elite." She led them to her back office where printouts and notes were spread across her desk. "It's worse than I thought." Jack glanced at the papers while Luna sniffed around the office, still staying close to them. "How bad are we talking?" "Bad enough that I'm considering calling in some favors with law enforcement," Mia said grimly, handing him a news clipping. 3 months ago, a protection dog with Pinnacle Elite training attacked a child at a private estate in Palmer County. The company claimed the dog had been improperly handled by the owner, but witnesses said the dog seemed to malfunction, like it suddenly couldn't distinguish between threats and family members. Jack skimmed the article, his concern deepening. "So, these dogs are dangerous?" "Not inherently, no. But Pinnacle's training methods..." Mia hesitated. "There are rumors they use some kind of experimental conditioning techniques. Dogs trained too intensively can develop what we call trigger stacking, where stress accumulates until they snap. But according to my contact at Animal Control, the incidents don't fit that pattern either." "What do they fit?" "Nothing natural," Mia admitted. "It's almost like the dogs are being remotely triggered somehow, like flipping a switch from guard dog to attack dog." Jack thought of the tracking chip she'd removed from Luna. Could it be related to the chips? "Possibly," Mia nodded. "That chip was far more sophisticated than standard pet ID microchips. It could potentially deliver electrical stimuli or even chemical releases, not just tracking." The implications made Jack feel sick. He looked at Luna, who had settled at Emma's familiar spot by the exam table. "So, Luna might be a ticking time bomb?" Mia finished his thought. "It's possible, but I don't think so." She knelt beside Luna, examining her eyes and ears carefully. "See this scarring around her ear canal? It looks like she may have had some kind of internal device that was removed, or that she removed herself. Dogs can be remarkably resourceful when motivated." "What kind of device?" "Hard to say without imaging, but possibly a receiver of some kind. If I had to guess, I'd say Luna sabotaged her own equipment. That's why they abandoned her. A failed experiment painted as a warning to others." Jack sat heavily in the office chair. "This is insane. We're talking about dog mind control?" "Not mind control exactly. More like remote behavioral triggering. The science exists. It's just not supposed to be used this way." Mia's expression hardened. "And it appears Pinnacle Elite has powerful clients who want this technology. Ethics be damned." Jack checked his watch. 3:24 p.m., less than 2 hours before Kane's deadline. "They have already threatened Emma and got me fired. What's our next move?" "We have 2 options," Mia said. 1, we go to the police with what we know. 2, we hide Luna and Emma somewhere safe until we can gather enough evidence to bring Pinnacle down legally. "The police won't believe us without proof," Jack said, and Kane made it clear they have connections. "If I don't show up at 5, they'll come after Emma." Mia stared thoughtfully at Luna. "There's a third option." She pulled out her phone, scrolling through contacts. My brother owns a cabin about 3 hours north. It's remote, off-grid, perfect for lying low. You, Emma, and Luna could stay there while I work on gathering evidence with some colleagues who've been watching Pinnacle for months. It was tempting. Disappear, protect Emma, buy some time, but running felt like admitting defeat. And how long would they need to hide? Days, weeks, months? I need to get Emma, Jack decided. She gets out of school in 20 minutes. I don't trust that she's safe there anymore. I'll come with you, Mia offered. Safety in numbers. As they prepared to leave, Jack's phone rang. Emma's school. Mr. Bennett, this is Ms. Williams, Emma's teacher. The woman's voice was tense. There's been an incident. Emma became extremely agitated about 15 minutes ago, insisting something was wrong with your dog. She's quite upset. Jack exchanged alarmed glances with Mia. Is she okay? Physically, yes, but she's very distressed. Could you come get her? She keeps saying they're hurting Luna, and we can't calm her down. I'll be right there, Jack promised, already heading for the door with Luna at his heels. Jack, wait, Mia called. If Emma's having some kind of connection with Luna, we should leave Luna here where she's safe, just in case. Jack hesitated, torn between keeping Luna with him and protecting her from whatever might happen. Luna whined anxiously, looking between Jack and the door. Okay, he agreed reluctantly. Keep her in the back where no one can see her. I'll get Emma and come straight back. He knelt in front of Luna. Stay with Mia, girl. I'll be back with Emma soon, I promise. Luna licked his hand once but seemed unusually restless, pacing the small office. As Jack left, he heard her whining more insistently behind the closed door. The drive to Emma's school took only 7 minutes, but it felt like hours. When he arrived, Emma was sitting in the nurse's office, her face tear-streaked but strangely calm now. Daddy, she said simply when she saw him, sliding off the chair and walking into his arms. Are you okay, sweetie? Jack asked, holding her tight. Emma looked up at him with those unnervingly old eyes. They were trying to hurt Luna, but they couldn't find her. They're angry now. Ms. Williams, hovering nearby, gave Jack a concerned look. She was almost hysterical earlier, Mr. Bennett. It came on suddenly, during art class. She started screaming about someone hurting a dog. Jack thanked the teacher and quickly led Emma to his truck, scanning the school grounds for any sign of surveillance. How did you know about Luna, Emma? He asked as he buckled her in. I told you, Daddy. She talks to me in my head. Emma's matter-of-fact tone made the hairs on Jack's neck stand up. The bad men came to our apartment looking for her, but she wasn't there. They made a big mess. Jack froze with his hand on the ignition. What? Emma, how could you possibly know that? In answer, his phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor. Someone broke into your AP. Cops here now. Where are you? Jack stared at the message, then at his daughter. Emma, this is important. How did you know about the apartment? Emma shrugged. Luna saw it, in her head. She's scared for us, Daddy. Jack started the truck, his mind racing. Whatever was happening between Emma and Luna would defy explanation, but he couldn't deny the evidence. Somehow, his 5-year-old daughter had known about an event miles away, at almost the exact moment it happened. We're going back to Dr. Mia's office to get Luna, he told Emma. Then we're going on a little trip. To the cabin in the woods? Emma asked innocently. Jack nearly swerved off the road. How did you... He stopped himself. There was no point asking anymore. Emma knew things she shouldn't be able to know. That was their reality now. Yes, to the cabin, he confirmed. We'll be safe there. As they approached the veterinary clinic, Jack noticed something wrong immediately. The front door was ajar, and the open sign had been turned to closed. He parked across the street, instructing Emma to stay low. Wait here, okay? Don't move for any reason. Luna and Dr. Mia need help, Emma said urgently. The bad men are there. Jack's blood ran cold. He reached under his seat and pulled out a tire iron. Not much of a weapon, but better than nothing. I'll be right back. Lock the doors. He approached the clinic cautiously, staying close to the buildings. Through the front window, he could see the reception area was empty, but a chair had been overturned. The silent alarm light was blinking beneath the desk. Mia had triggered it. Moving to the side of the building, Jack found the staff entrance unlocked. He slipped inside, listening intently. Voices came from the direction of the kennels at the back of the clinic. The chip is no longer transmitting, sir. A male voice, unfamiliar, but our scanners show the dog was here recently. Then find it. Kane's voice, unmistakable in its cold authority. "And find the vet. She must know where Bennett is taking it." Jack crept forward, peering around the corner into the kennel area. Two men in black tactical gear were searching the rooms while Kane stood watching. Of Mia and Luna, there was no sign. He was weighing his options when a movement caught his eye, a shadow shifting behind the storage cabinet. Mia was hiding there, pressed against the wall, Luna beside her. The dog's ears were forward, her body tense but controlled. Neither Kane nor his men had spotted them yet, but it was only a matter of time. Jack needed a distraction. Glancing around, he spotted the fire alarm on the wall near the reception desk. It would bring unwanted attention, but it might give Mia and Luna a chance to escape. He was about to move when a small voice spoke directly behind him. "Daddy, Luna says we need to go now." Jack nearly jumped out of his skin. Emma stood there, having somehow silently followed him inside. "Emma," he whispered frantically, "I told you to stay in the truck." Before he could grab her, Emma stepped past him into full view of the kennel area. "Stop looking for my dog," she announced clearly, her voice echoing in the suddenly silent room. Kane and his men whirled around, momentarily startled by the child's appearance. Kane recovered first, his surprise transforming into a calculating smile. "Well, hello there," he said, his voice artificially pleasant. "You must be Emma. What a coincidence. We were just looking for you and your daddy." Jack stepped out, the tire iron gripped firmly in his hand. "Stay away from my daughter." Kane's eyes hardened as he assessed the situation. "Mr. Bennett, right on time. Where's the dog?" "Not here," Jack lied, positioning himself between Emma and the men. "And not coming back. I've turned everything I know about Pinnacle's elite over to the police. Breaking into my apartment was sloppy, Kane. They've got your description now." It was a bluff, but Kane's momentary hesitation suggested it had hit home. "You're making this much harder than it needs to be," Kane said, his pleasant facade dropping. "The dog is company property, and it contains proprietary technology worth millions in development costs. My employers want it back, intact if possible, but one way or another." "That property was abused and left to die," Jack shot back. "Your employers don't deserve to own a goldfish, let alone a dog like Luna." Kane's face darkened. "You know nothing about what we do. Our work is advancing the boundaries of animal intelligence and human security. The applications are endless." "You mean like making dogs attack children?" Jack challenged, remembering the article Mia had shown him. "Unfortunate incidents happen in any field of research," Kane dismissed with a wave. "The point is, you're interfering with matters far beyond your understanding or pay grade. The smart play is to take the money and walk away." "The money you offered for my dog?" Emma piped up, her voice startlingly clear. Kane's attention shifted to her, his expression unreadable. "Yes, little one. Your father could have $20,000. Think of all the toys you could buy." Emma took a step forward despite Jack's attempt to hold her back. "Luna is not for sale. She ran away from you because you hurt her. You made her do bad things." Kane's eyes narrowed slightly. "What an imagination you have." "It's not imagination," Emma stated with eerie certainty. "I know what you did to the other dogs. Luna showed me." For the first time, Kane seemed genuinely unsettled. "What is she talking about, Bennett?" "I have no idea," Jack said truthfully, though his own unease was growing. Whatever connection Emma had with Luna went deeper than he had realized. Emma pointed directly at Kane. "You put machines in their heads to control them, but Luna broke hers because she didn't want to hurt people. That made you angry, so you painted her gray and left her in the park to scare the other dogs." The color drained from Kane's face. How could she possibly... He stopped himself, his professional demeanor reasserting itself. "Enough games. Where is the dog, Bennett?" "She's right here." Mia's voice came from behind Kane as she stepped out from her hiding place, Luna at her side. The German Shepherd stood tall, her posture alert but calm, eyes fixed on Kane with unmistakable recognition. Kane turned slowly. "Dr. Chen, I should have known you were involved when the tracking chip went offline." His gaze shifted to Luna, and his expression changed to one of cold assessment. "Subject 17, you've caused quite a bit of trouble." At the designation, Luna's ears flattened slightly, but she held her ground, positioning herself protectively in front of Mia. "She's not a subject," Mia said firmly. "She's a living being you and your company tortured in the name of profit. And I've documented every bit of evidence, the removed chip, the surgical scars, the behavioral conditioning, all of it. One call, and it goes to every animal welfare organization and law enforcement agency in the state. Kane seemed to calculate his options, glancing between Mia, Jack, Emma, and the dog. Finally, he gave a cold smile. Well played, Doctor, but ultimately futile. He reached into his jacket and removed what looked like a small remote. You see, while the primary chip was removed, Subject 17 still has the secondary implant. Smaller, harder to detect, embedded near the brain stem. He pressed a button. Luna flinched, a small whine escaping her throat. "No!" Emma cried out, rushing toward Luna before Jack could stop her. Kane pressed the button again, longer this time. "Step back, child. When the override engages, the dog will attack the nearest target. Even with a damaged receiver, the pain stimulus should be enough to trigger the aggression protocol." Luna's body trembled, her breathing coming in sharp pants. A low growl rumbled in her chest as her pupils dilated, head lowering in a posture Jack recognized from his limited knowledge of dog behavior, the prelude to an attack. "Emma, get back!" Jack lunged forward to pull his daughter away, but he was too late. Emma had already wrapped her arms around Luna's neck, pressing her face against the dog's fur. "It's okay, Luna," she whispered. "Don't listen to the bad voices. Listen to me instead." Kane pressed the button repeatedly, his confidence faltering, as Luna failed to respond as expected. Instead of attacking, the dog pressed closer to Emma, her trembling gradually subsiding. "Impossible," Kane muttered. "The protocol is hardwired. No dog has ever resisted the pain stimulus." "This one did," Mia said, something like awe in her voice. "She's bonded with Emma somehow." Luna stood steady now, positioned protectively in front of Emma, her eyes clear and focused on Kane. The low growl continued, but it was controlled, deliberate. Not the mindless aggression of a triggered attack dog, but the calculated warning of an intelligent guardian. Kane's face contorted with fury. He gestured sharply to his men. "Take the dog. Tranquilize it if necessary." The men moved forward, but Luna's growl deepened. One reached for his belt, likely for a tranquilizer gun, but froze when the front doors burst open with a crash. "Police! Hands where we can see them!" 4 officers rushed in, weapons drawn. Behind them came a tall man in plain clothes, his badge hanging from a chain around his neck. "Richard Kane," the plainclothes officer announced. "I've been wanting to meet you for a long time. I'm Detective James Cooper, Animal Crimes Division. You're under arrest for animal cruelty, breaking and entering, and corporate espionage. Seems your employers at Pinnacle aren't too happy about your methods leaking to the press." Kane's face went from furious to carefully blank. "You have no jurisdiction here. My company operates under federal security contracts." "Maybe so," Cooper agreed. "But those contracts don't cover animal torture or threatening civilians. And they definitely don't cover the illegal surveillance equipment we found in Mr. Bennett's apartment. The FBI is very interested in talking to you about that." As the uniformed officers moved to handcuff Kane and his men, Cooper turned to Jack. "Mr. Bennett, Dr. Chen, sorry it took us so long to get here. Traffic was hell." "How did you know?" Jack asked, still holding Emma close. Cooper nodded toward Mia. "Dr. Chen has been working with us for months, documenting Pinnacle's animal welfare violations. When she triggered the silent alarm, it came directly to me." He glanced at Luna, who had relaxed slightly but remained watchful. "Is this the dog that started it all?" "This is Luna," Emma answered for them. "She ran away from the bad people because she didn't want to hurt anyone." Cooper knelt to Emma's level. "Is that so? Well, she's very brave then, and lucky to have found friends like you." As Kane was led away, he looked back at Jack with cold fury. "This isn't over, Bennett. Pinnacle Elite doesn't forget." "Neither do I," Jack replied steadily. After the police had taken statements and cleared the scene, Cooper pulled Jack and Mia aside. "I won't sugarcoat this. Kane was right about one thing. Pinnacle Elite has powerful connections. We can hold him on the breaking and entering charges, but the animal cruelty case will be harder to prove without more evidence." "What about the chip Dr. Chen removed?" Jack asked. "It's a start, but their lawyers will claim it was a standard tracking device. We need more. Documentation of their training methods, testimony from former employees, something concrete." Mia nodded thoughtfully. "I might know someone who could help, a former trainer who left the company a year ago. He contacted me about his concerns but was too afraid to go public." "Get me in touch with him," Cooper said. "In the meantime, I'd recommend you all lie low for a while. Kane might be in custody, but Pinnacle Elite has resources." Jack thought of his ransacked apartment, his lost job, the threats to Emma. We were planning to head out of town anyway. Good. Don't tell me where. The less I know, the better. Cooper handed Jack his card. Call this number if anything happens. It's my personal line, not connected to the department. After Cooper left, Jack, Emma, Luna, and Mia stood in the quiet of the clinic, the reality of the day's events settling around them. That offer still stands, Mia said. My brother's cabin. It's remote, safe. Jack looked at Emma, who was sitting on the floor with Luna, whispering something in the dog's ear. Despite everything that had happened, his daughter seemed calmer, more present than she had been in months. Whatever connection she had formed with Luna, it was helping her heal in ways he hadn't been able to provide. We'll take it, Jack decided, just until this all blows over. What none of them realized was that the storm hadn't passed. It was merely gathering strength. As they prepared to leave for the sanctuary of the cabin, a sleek black car pulled up outside the Pinnacle Elite headquarters across town. A distinguished man in an expensive suit emerged, his face tight with controlled anger as he entered the building. Alexander Graves, CEO of Pinnacle Elite and the true architect of the experimental program, had just received word of Kane's arrest, and he was not pleased. Find them, he instructed his head of security. The dog, the man, the child, all of them. This project is too valuable to lose now. What about Kane? The security chief asked. Graves waved a dismissive hand. Kane is a liability now. Cut all ties. Focus on recovering Subject 17 and the child. The child, sir? A cold smile touched Graves' lips. Kane's reports indicate something unusual between the dog and the Bennett girl. Some kind of empathic connection. If true, that could be even more valuable than the neural implant technology. Understood, sir? As Graves turned to the window, his reflection hard against the darkening sky, he made a silent vow. Subject 17 had been his most promising prototype, the perfect blend of intelligence, strength, and trainability. The dog's escape had been a setback, but now, with the unexpected development of a human connection, it had become an opportunity. The Bennett family thought that they had won a small victory today. Soon they would discover just how wrong they were. Sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and purple as Jack's truck wound its way along the narrow mountain road. 3 hours into their journey, the urban sprawl had given way to dense forest, with no signs of civilization, except the occasional dirt road branching off into the wilderness. In the back seat, Emma had finally dozed off, her small hand resting on Luna's fur. The German shepherd remained vigilant despite the day's excitement, her amber eyes scanning the passing landscape through the window. How much further? Jack asked, glancing at Mia in the passenger seat. She had insisted on coming with them, at least for the first few days, to help Luna settle and to examine the dog more thoroughly away from prying eyes. About 20 minutes, Mia replied, checking the hand-drawn map her brother had faxed to her office. Next right should be a logging road. We'll follow that for about 3 miles. Jack nodded, his eyes heavy with fatigue. The past few days had been a whirlwind, finding Luna, confronting Kane, the break-in at his apartment, and now this escape into the wilderness. Part of him still couldn't believe this was happening. A month ago, his biggest worry had been making rent on time. Now he was on the run from a shadowy corporation, with his daughter and a genetically enhanced dog. Do you think Cooper can really build a case against Pinnacle? He asked, breaking the contemplative silence. Mia sighed. It won't be easy. Companies like Pinnacle Elite operate in gray areas between military contracts, private security, and experimental technology. They have lawyers and connections we can't even imagine. She turned to look at Luna and Emma in the back seat. But what they did to Luna and the other dogs crosses a line that even their money can't easily erase. If Cooper finds that former trainer I mentioned and gets him to testify, and if he doesn't, then we regroup and find another way, Mia said firmly. I didn't spend 8 years becoming a veterinarian to look the other way while animals are tortured for profit. Jack felt a surge of gratitude for this woman, who had inserted herself into their chaotic situation without hesitation. Why are you helping us like this? You hardly know us. You could lose your practice, your license. Mia was quiet for a moment. 2 years ago, a client brought in a Rottweiler with similar scarring to Luna's. The dog was aggressive, unpredictable, nothing like what the owner had described when purchasing it. I found a chip similar to Luna's, but before I could properly document it, the dog disappeared from my kennel overnight. The owner stopped answering my calls. She turned to look at Luna again. I've been watching Pinnacle Elite ever since, gathering evidence piece by piece. Luna is the breakthrough we've been waiting for, proof that they're implanting control devices in these dogs. Jack processed this as he turned onto the logging road, the truck bouncing over the uneven surface. And Emma's connection with Luna? What do you make of that? Scientifically, I have no explanation, Mia admitted. But I've worked with animals long enough to know there are bonds that defy conventional understanding. Some people just have a way with animals, an empathy that goes beyond normal communication. Emma seems to have that gift in abundance. In the back seat, Luna's ears perked up suddenly. She lifted her head, body tensing. Jack noticed the change in the rearview mirror. What is it, girl? Mia turned to look as Luna growled softly, her attention fixed on the road behind them. Jack, Mia said tensely, when was the last time you saw another car? Jack checked his mirrors, seeing only darkness on the road behind them. Not since we turned off the highway. Why? Luna's reacting to something. Mia rolled down her window, listening. The forest was quiet except for the normal evening sounds of insects and the distant call of an owl. But then, a low mechanical hum, growing faintly louder. Someone's coming, Jack realized, accelerating slightly. Could be nothing. Hunters or campers use these roads too. Maybe, Mia conceded, but her tone suggested she didn't believe it. Your truck is pretty recognizable. If Pinnacle has people looking for us... Jack gripped the steering wheel tighter. We're almost there, right? 2 more miles. Take the next left. He made the turn onto an even narrower dirt track, tree branches scraping against the sides of the truck. The path was barely visible in the fading light, more trail than road. The sound of the engine behind them grew louder, then paused, as if the other vehicle had stopped at the junction. They're not sure which way we went, Mia whispered. Jack cut his headlights, navigating by the dim glow of the dashboard, and what little moonlight filtered through the trees. It was risky on the unfamiliar road, but less risky than being a beacon in the darkness. In the back seat, Emma stirred. Daddy, she murmured sleepily, why is it dark? Shh, it's okay, sweetie, Jack reassured her. We're playing a game, like hide and seek. We need to be very quiet. Emma seemed to understand immediately, sitting up straighter. The bad men found us again, she stated rather than asked. Jack exchanged a worried glance with Mia. We don't know that for sure, he said, but his tone lacked conviction. Luna knows, Emma said simply, placing her hand on the dog's back. She can smell them. As if confirming Emma's words, Luna's growl deepened, her eyes fixed on the rear window. The sound of the pursuing engine grew louder again. They had chosen the correct turn. Jack, you need to drive faster, Mia urged. He pressed the accelerator, the truck bouncing violently over the rutted path. If I go any faster, we'll break an axle. If you don't, we might face something worse, Mia countered, pulling out her phone. No signal, of course. The cabin appeared suddenly around a bend, a sturdy 2-story structure of logs and stone, nestled against the side of the mountain. No lights shone from within. It was as deserted as Mia had promised. Jack pulled the truck around to the back, cutting the engine. Everyone out. Grab only what you need. They moved quickly, gathering their essential bags. Luna leapt from the back seat, alert but controlled, staying close to Emma. The key should be under the moose statue by the front door, Mia said, leading the way around the cabin. The sound of the approaching vehicle was clearer now, still at least half a mile back, but closing. Jack found the key exactly where Mia had indicated, and fumbled it into the lock. The door swung open with a creak, revealing a rustic but comfortable interior. Get inside, he urged, ushering Emma and Luna through the door, while Mia grabbed the last of their bags from the porch. Once inside, Jack locked the door and quickly moved through the cabin, checking windows and other entrances. The place was solid, thick wooden doors, shutters for the windows, a stone fireplace dominating the main room. It would be difficult to break into, but also difficult to escape from if surrounded. Emma, stay in the middle of the room with Luna, he instructed, as he and Mia secured the last window. The sound of the engine grew louder, then stopped, close, but not immediately outside, perhaps at the start of the cabin's long driveway. Jack, look, Mia whispered, pointing out a small gap in the window shutters. At the edge of the clearing, barely visible in the deepening twilight, a black SUV had parked, Its headlights were off, but Jack could make out the silhouettes of at least two people emerging from the vehicle. "How did they find us?" Jack hissed, moving away from the window. "I was careful. No one followed us from the city." The secondary implant, Mia realized with horror. Kane said Luna still had a second chip near her brainstem. What if it's not just for behavior control? What if it's also a backup tracker? Luna whined softly, pressing against Emma's side. The little girl wrapped her arms around the dog's neck, whispering something in her ear that Jack couldn't hear. "What do we do?" he asked, trying to keep the panic from his voice. "There's no way out except past them." Mia's eyes darted around the cabin, thinking quickly. "Your brother has a hunting rifle here somewhere. Check that cabinet by the door." Jack found the rifle and a box of ammunition on the top shelf. "I've never shot anything but clay pigeons," he admitted as he loaded it with shaking hands. "Hopefully you won't have to shoot at all," Mia said. "Just the threat might be enough to—" A sharp knock on the front door cut her off. They froze, hardly daring to breathe. "Mr. Bennett," a woman's voice, professional and calm, called through the door. "My name is Rebecca Harris. I represent Pinnacle Elite Security Solutions. I'd like to speak with you about a mutually beneficial resolution to our situation." Jack raised the rifle, pointing it at the door. "Go away. The police know where we are," he lied. "I doubt that very much," the woman replied, unperturbed. "Detective Cooper is currently occupied with Mr. Kane's processing. No one knows you're here except us." The calm certainty in her voice sent chills down Jack's spine. She was right. They had told no one about the cabin, not even Cooper. "What do you want?" Jack demanded, moving closer to Emma and Luna. "As I said, a resolution. My employer recognizes that the situation with Mr. Kane escalated unnecessarily. We're prepared to make a more reasonable offer for the return of company property." "Luna is not property," Emma's clear voice rang out before Jack could stop her. "And we're not giving her back." There was a pause from outside, then, "You must be Emma. I've heard a lot about you. You've formed quite a bond with Subject 17. With Luna, I mean." "Leave my daughter out of this," Jack warned. "That's precisely what we're trying to do, Mr. Bennett," Harris responded smoothly. "My employer is prepared to offer you $1 million in exchange for the dog. Enough for you and your daughter to start a new life anywhere you choose. No further contact, no repercussions." Jack and Mia exchanged shocked glances. $1 million was life-changing money, far beyond what Kane had offered, and far beyond what Luna could be worth as merely a trained protection dog. "Why so much?" Jack asked suspiciously. "What's so special about Luna?" "Let's just say she represents a significant investment in proprietary technology," Harris replied. "My employer prefers to resolve this quietly and is willing to pay a premium for discretion." Emma tugged at Jack's sleeve. "Daddy, Luna says they're lying. They don't want just her. They want both of us." Jack looked down at his daughter, her face solemn in the dim light of the cabin. "Both of you?" "The bad man in charge," Emma explained, her voice eerily adult. "He wants to know how Luna and I can talk to each other. He thinks he can use it to make the other dogs better at hurting people." A chill ran down Jack's spine. How could Emma possibly know the motivations of Pinnacle's CEO? Unless her connection with Luna was somehow giving her insights none of them could explain. "Mr. Bennett," Harris called through the door, "is everything all right?" "You're not just here for Luna," Jack accused. "You want my daughter too." A moment of silence followed, heavy with implication. When Harris spoke again, her voice had lost some of its professional polish. "I'm authorized to negotiate for the dog only, but my employer would be interested in compensating you additionally for information about your daughter's apparent affinity with the animal." "Get off our property," Jack said, his voice hard with resolve. "Now." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Mr. Bennett," Harris replied, dropping all pretense of negotiation. "We have orders to recover the asset by any means necessary. You have 3 minutes to open this door voluntarily before we take more direct action." Jack's mind raced. The cabin was solid, but it wouldn't withstand a determined assault for long, and they were outnumbered, possibly outgunned. Their only advantage was that Pinnacle seemed to want Luna and Emma unharmed, which might limit their tactics. "Daddy," Emma whispered urgently, "Luna knows another way out." Jack looked down at his daughter in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Behind the big fireplace," Emma said, pointing, "there's a small door. Luna can see it in her head." Mia moved to the massive stone fireplace that dominated one wall of the cabin. Your brother mentioned this place was used by bootleggers during Prohibition, she murmured, running her hands along the stones. Maybe there's a hidden... Her fingers caught on something, and a section of the stonework shifted slightly. With a small grunt of effort, Mia pushed harder, revealing a narrow passage behind the fireplace. It leads down to the river, Emma announced confidently. We can follow the water to the road. Jack stared at his daughter, torn between amazement at this discovery and concern over her inexplicable knowledge. Emma, how could you possibly know that? I told you, Daddy. Luna knows things, and she tells me. Emma stroked Luna's head affectionately. She was here before, with another man who was running away from the bad people. Another escapee from Pinnacle? Mia wondered aloud. It would make sense if they've used this area for training exercises. Outside, Harris's voice called again. 1 minute, Mr. Bennett. I should mention that my colleagues are positioning themselves around the cabin as we speak. There is no escape route you haven't already inadvertently revealed to us through the tracking implant. Jack made his decision. Let's go, now. He grabbed their emergency bag, food, water, first aid supplies, and gestured toward the hidden passage. Mia, you go first with Emma and Luna. I'll be right behind you. Mia nodded, taking Emma's hand. Stay close to me, sweetie. What about the chip? Jack asked in a hushed voice. If it's still tracking Luna, they'll follow us. We'll have to lose it somehow, Mia said grimly. But first, let's put some distance between us and them. As Mia and Emma disappeared into the passage with Luna, Jack took one last look around the cabin. His gaze fell on his jacket, hanging by the door. An idea formed, not a permanent solution, but perhaps enough to buy them time. Moving quickly, he took one of Luna's shed hairs from Emma's sweater and placed it in his jacket pocket. Then he slipped out the cabin side window, placed the jacket carefully on a low branch of a nearby tree, and hurried back inside and through the hidden passage, pulling the stone door closed behind him. The passage was narrow and steep, forcing Jack to crouch as he made his way down the rough-hewn steps. The air was damp and cold, smelling of moss and earth. After about 50 feet, the passage leveled out into a wider tunnel supported by old wooden beams. He caught up with Mia, Emma, and Luna at a junction where the tunnel split in two directions. Which way? He whispered. Emma looked to Luna, who was sniffing both passages intently. After a moment, the dog moved decisively toward the left tunnel. This way, Emma said. It's longer but safer. The right one collapsed further down. They followed Luna's lead, moving as quickly as they dared in the dim light of Mia's phone flashlight. The tunnel wound downward, occasionally branching, but Luna never hesitated at the junctions, leading them with unwavering confidence. Above them, faintly, they heard the sound of the cabin door being forced open, followed by muffled shouts. Their absence had been discovered. Hurry, Jack urged, though there was little room to move faster in the confined space. After what seemed like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, a fresh breeze began to filter through the tunnel. Luna quickened her pace, leading them toward a narrow opening partially concealed by thick undergrowth. They emerged onto a rocky bank beside a swiftly flowing river. The moon had risen, casting silver light over the water and the dense forest on either side. Downstream, Jack could make out the faint outline of a bridge where the river passed under a road. That must be the county highway, Mia whispered. 2 miles downstream if I remember the map correctly. Can we risk the road? Jack wondered aloud. They might have people watching it. We don't have many options, Mia replied. We can't stay in the forest indefinitely, and the river's too dangerous to cross or follow in the dark. Luna suddenly went rigid, her ears pricked forward, staring back the way they had come. A low growl rumbled in her chest. They're in the tunnel, Emma translated unnecessarily, following our scent. Jack made a quick decision. We'll follow the river to the highway. If we're lucky, my distraction with the jacket bought us enough time to... A sharp crack echoed through the forest. A gunshot, distant but clear. Luna flinched but didn't cower, moving instead to position herself between Emma and the direction of the sound. Move, now, Jack ordered, lifting Emma into his arms. They began making their way downstream, staying close to the water, where the rocky terrain left fewer tracks. Luna took the lead, her powerful body weaving expertly through the undergrowth, occasionally stopping to ensure they were following. More shouts echoed behind them, closer now. Whoever was pursuing them was gaining ground. They had covered perhaps half the distance to the highway when Luna suddenly veered away from the river, heading deeper into the forest. Luna, no, Jack hissed. We need to stay near the water. But the dog was insistent, looking back at them and then forward again, clearly wanting them to follow. "She knows something we don't," Emma said with absolute certainty. "Trust her, Daddy." Against his better judgment, Jack followed as Luna led them through a particularly dense section of forest. They pushed through a wall of undergrowth and found themselves in a small clearing dominated by a dilapidated cabin, much smaller and older than the one they had fled, little more than a hunter's shack. "What is this place?" Mia whispered, as Luna led them directly to the door. "Luna says it belongs to a friend," Emma replied, "someone who helped her before." The door was secured with a simple latch, which Luna nudged with her nose. To Jack's surprise, it lifted easily, allowing the door to swing open. Inside, the cabin was Spartan but tidy. A single room with a small wood stove, a cot against one wall, and basic supplies stacked neatly in a corner. "Hello," Jack called softly, concerned they were intruding on someone's private retreat. No answer came. The cabin appeared empty, though recently used. A pot sat on the cold wood stove, and a jacket hung from a peg by the door. Luna moved confidently to a worn rug in the center of the floor, pawing at it insistently. Mia pulled the rug aside to reveal a trapdoor built into the floorboards. Another hidden passage? Jack wondered, lifting the heavy door. Instead of a tunnel, however, the space below contained a cache of supplies, canned food, bottled water, first aid equipment, and, most surprisingly, a satellite phone. Someone was prepared, Mia observed, lifting out the phone. For what? Jack wondered. And why would Luna know about this place? Emma knelt beside Luna, her small hand resting on the dog's head. The man who lives here helped other dogs escape from the bad place. He was a trainer, but he didn't like hurting them, so he ran away. Jack and Mia exchanged startled glances. The former trainer I mentioned, Mia breathed, the one who contacted me about Pinnacle's methods. He must be living off the grid out here. Luna led us to him on purpose, Jack realized. But where is he now? As if in answer to his question, Luna's head snapped up, her attention fixed on the door, but instead of growling, her tail wagged slightly. The door swung open, revealing a bearded man in his 40s, dressed in worn outdoor clothing. He held a rifle casually but confidently, though he lowered it immediately upon seeing Luna. "Well, I'll be damned," the man said in a gravelly voice. "Subject 17, you actually made it." His gaze moved to Jack, Mia, and finally Emma. "And you brought friends. Interesting friends." "Who are you?" Jack demanded, stepping protectively in front of Emma. The man closed the door behind him and secured it before answering. "Name's Daniel Walsh, former head trainer at Pinnacle Elite, current fugitive, and apparently your only hope of getting out of these woods alive." He nodded toward Luna. "IC-17 found you, or maybe you found her. Either way, you're in the middle of something much bigger than you realize." "Pinnacle's people are right behind us," Mia warned. "We barely escaped the cabin upriver." Walsh nodded grimly. "I heard the commotion. They've been searching these woods for 2 days, ever since you left the city. Normally they're more subtle, but they're desperate to recover 17. She's special, even among the enhanced subjects." "Enhanced?" Jack repeated. "What exactly did they do to her?" Walsh's expression darkened. "That's a long conversation, and we don't have time for it right now. Pinnacle's strike team is sweeping this area as we speak. We need to move." He reached for the satellite phone in Mia's hand. "I have some friends who can extract us, but they'll need at least an hour to reach us. We need to find somewhere to hold out until then." Emma stepped forward, her expression serious beyond her years. "You helped Luna escape. You're the one who broke her special collar so the bad men couldn't control her anymore." Walsh stared at the child in astonishment. "How could you possibly know that? I never told anyone about—" He stopped, looking between Emma and Luna with dawning comprehension. "Unless the neural link actually worked. Not how they intended, but—" "What neural link?" Jack demanded. "What are you talking about?" Before Walsh could answer, Luna growled, a different sound than before, more urgent. All of them fell silent, listening. The faint snap of twigs and rustle of leaves came from outside. Someone was approaching the cabin. "Back door," Walsh whispered, pointing to a narrow exit behind the wood stove. "Down to the stream, then east along the ridge. There's a cave system they don't know about. Move quietly." As they prepared to leave, Emma stopped, placing her hand on Luna's head. After a moment of what seemed like silent communication, she looked up at Walsh. "Luna says there are 5 bad men outside. 2 in front, 3 coming around the back. They have special guns that can see in the dark." Walsh's eyes widened in shock, but he recovered quickly. Change of plan. Under the cot, there's a panel in the floor. Maintenance tunnel for the old mining operation. It'll be tight, but it leads to where we need to go. They moved quickly, Jack lifting the heavy cot while Walsh pried open the concealed panel. A narrow passage, barely large enough for an adult to crawl through, descended into darkness. Emma first, then you, Walsh directed Jack. The dog next, then the doctor. I'll bring up the rear and seal the entrance. As Emma prepared to enter the tunnel, a heavy thud struck the cabin door. Someone was trying to force their way in. Luna's hackles rose, but she remained controlled, her focus razor sharp. Go, Walsh hissed, helping Emma into the opening. One by one, they descended into the cramped tunnel, the sounds of intrusion growing louder above them. Walsh was the last to enter, pulling the panel closed just as the cabin door splintered open. In the close darkness of the tunnel, illuminated only by the weak beam of Mia's phone, they began their escape. 4 humans and 1 extraordinary dog, crawling desperately toward an uncertain future, with the forces of Pinnacle Elite closing in behind them. What none of them realized yet was that Emma's connection with Luna was far more than a child's empathic bond with an animal. It was the unintended success of Pinnacle's most ambitious and dangerous experiment, a breakthrough that Alexander Graves would kill to possess, and that Daniel Walsh had risked everything to prevent. The narrow mining tunnel seemed endless, a claustrophobic nightmare of rough stone and damp earth. Jack's shoulders scraped against the walls as he crawled, following Emma's small form ahead of him. Behind came Luna, then Mia, with Walsh bringing up the rear. The only sound was their labored breathing and the occasional scrape of clothing against rock. How much further? Jack whispered, after what felt like hours. Almost there, Walsh replied from behind. The tunnel widens just ahead. We're deep in the old mining system now. True to his word, the passage gradually expanded until they could stand, though hunched over. Emma's face was streaked with dirt, but her eyes remained clear and determined. Luna stayed close to her, the dog's movement steady despite her recent recovery. Pinnacle's people won't follow us down here, Walsh said, checking the tunnel behind them. Too confined for their tactical gear, and the risk of cave-ins is too high.
You seem to know a lot about their tactics, Mia observed, studying Walsh cautiously.
I should. I helped develop them. Walsh's expression darkened. Before I realized what Graves was really doing with the program. They emerged into a larger chamber where several tunnels converged. The remains of old mining equipment lay scattered about, rusted and forgotten. Walsh led them to a small alcove where he had stashed emergency supplies, water, energy bars, a medical kit, and 2 powerful flashlights. Drink, he instructed, passing around water bottles. We're safe for the moment, but we need to keep moving. My contact can extract us from a clearing about 2 miles from here, but we need to reach it within the hour. As they drank and ate, Jack studied Walsh. The man moved with military precision, his awareness of their surroundings constant. How long did you work for Pinnacle? He asked. 5 years, Walsh replied. I was recruited from Special Forces to develop their canine training program. It was supposed to be cutting-edge protection dogs for high-value clients. His jaw tightened. Then Graves took over and everything changed. The training became more extreme, the methods more invasive. We weren't just teaching dogs anymore. We were re-engineering them. The chips, Mia said, the neural implants. Walsh nodded. That was just the beginning. Graves brought in neurologists, genetic engineers, behavioral scientists. The goal shifted from training elite protection dogs to creating controllable weapons. Dogs with enhanced intelligence, strength, and aggression that could be triggered remotely. He glanced at Luna. Subject 17, Luna, was one of the most promising subjects. Exceptional intelligence, physical capabilities beyond normal parameters, perfect recall. But she ran away, Emma piped up. Walsh looked at the child with renewed wonder. Yes, she did something no other subject had managed. She resisted the control protocols and escaped during a training exercise. He knelt to Luna's level, examining her closely. I helped remove her primary control collar, but I didn't think she'd survive the secondary implant's pain stimulation. Most dogs would have succumbed to it or returned to base from conditioning. She found us in the park, Jack explained. Someone had painted her gray like a statue. Walsh's expression darkened. Graves' idea of a warning to the other dogs and a punishment for the one that got away, left to die in plain sight. He stood, checking his watch. We need to move. My contact will abort if we're not at the extraction point on time." As they prepared to leave, Emma suddenly froze, her hand on Luna's back. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice small but certain. Walsh looked sharply at the tunnel entrance. Impossible. They wouldn't risk. A distant sound echoed through the chamber, the scrape of movement against stone. "Graves sent his cleanup team," Walsh said, his voice tight with tension. "Ex-military specialists who handle Pinnacle's most sensitive operations. They're not bound by the same rules as the regular security forces." "How did they find us?" Jack demanded, pulling Emma closer. Walsh's gaze went to Luna. "The secondary implant. It's more sophisticated than I realized. They must have recalibrated it to boost the signal in close quarters." "We need to remove it," Mia said urgently. "Not here, not without proper equipment." Walsh was already gathering their supplies. "Our only option is to reach the extraction point. My contact has a portable surgical unit in his helicopter." He pointed to one of the tunnels branching off the chamber. "This way. It's the most direct route to the surface." They moved quickly, Walsh taking the lead with one of the powerful flashlights, Jack carrying Emma in the middle, with Luna at their side, and Mia bringing up the rear. The tunnel sloped upward, occasionally branching, but Walsh navigated without hesitation, choosing paths with the confidence of someone who had mapped them thoroughly. The sounds of pursuit grew fainter behind them, but never completely disappeared. Their hunters were persistent, professionals trained to track targets through the most challenging terrain. After 20 minutes of steady climbing, the tunnel began to narrow again. Emma, who had been unusually quiet, suddenly spoke. "Luna says there's another way," she announced. "A faster way, but it's underwater." Walsh stopped, turning to face them. "What's she talking about?" Emma pointed to a small offshoot of the tunnel they had just passed. "Through there, there's a pool that leads to a river. The river comes out near the place where your friend is landing." Walsh stared at Emma, then at Luna. How could she possibly know that? Those tunnels aren't on any map. They were flooded 50 years ago. "Emma and Luna have some kind of connection we can't explain," Jack said. But so far, everything Emma has said Luna told her has been accurate. Walsh hesitated, clearly torn between following his known route and trusting this inexplicable intelligence. Before he could decide, a sharp cracking sound echoed through the tunnel behind them, followed by muffled voices. Their pursuers had found their trail again. "We don't have time to debate this," Mia urged. "They're gaining on us." Walsh made his decision. "Show me this underwater passage." Emma led them back to the offshoot, which descended sharply before opening into a small chamber dominated by a dark, still pool of water. The beam of Walsh's flashlight revealed that it extended into a flooded tunnel. "Luna says we need to swim through," Emma explained. "It's not far, but it's completely underwater for about 30 seconds. Walsh examined the tunnel entrance beneath the water's surface. "It looks clear, no obvious obstructions." He turned to the others. "This could work, but it's risky. If the tunnel is blocked further in, we'll drown," Jack finished grimly. More sounds echoed from the main passage. Their pursuers were closing in rapidly now. "We don't have a choice," Mia decided. "I'll go first. Test the route." "No," Walsh countered. "I'll go. If it's clear, I'll come back for Emma. The dog can likely swim it on her own." Jack looked at his daughter, fear gripping his heart at the thought of her trying to navigate an underwater tunnel. There has to be another way. "There isn't, Daddy," Emma said with unsettling calm. "Luna will help me. She's done this before." Before Jack could question this statement, Walsh had already stripped off his outer jacket and slipped into the water. With a nod to the others, he took a deep breath and disappeared beneath the surface. The minutes that followed were some of the longest of Jack's life. He held Emma close, listening to the approaching sounds of pursuit while watching the dark water for any sign of Walsh's return. Just as Jack was beginning to fear the worst, the water's surface broke, and Walsh emerged, gasping for air. "It's clear," he confirmed between breaths. "About 20 meters, no obstructions. Comes out in an underground river that flows to the surface." The sounds of their pursuers grew louder. They were almost upon them. "Emma goes now with me," Walsh insisted, holding out his arms. "We don't have time to argue." Jack knelt to Emma's level. "I'll be right behind you, sweetheart. Hold tight to Mr. Walsh and do exactly what he says." Emma nodded bravely, but instead of going to Walsh, she turned to Luna. "We'll go together," she told the dog, wrapping her small arms around Luna's neck. "Just like you showed me." Before anyone could stop her, Emma and Luna slipped into the water. To Jack's astonishment, Luna seemed to understand exactly what was needed. The dog positioned herself so Emma could hold on to her back, and with a last look at Jack, they both disappeared beneath the surface. "Emma!" Jack cried, lunging toward the water. Walsh caught his arm. "Wait! Let them clear the tunnel first. The dog knows what she's doing." "My daughter is underwater with a dog," Jack shouted, wrenching his arm free. "A dog that's been specifically designed for water operations," Walsh countered. "Trust me, Luna is more capable than any human swimmer. She'll keep Emma safe." The agonizing wait was cut short by the sound of voices just outside their chamber. Their pursuers had found them. "Go, now!" Walsh ordered, pushing Mia toward the water. "I'll be right behind you." Mia gave Jack a quick, reassuring squeeze before diving into the dark pool. Jack hesitated just long enough to see Walsh pull something from his pack, a small device with a blinking light. "What is that?" Jack asked. "Insurance," Walsh replied grimly. "Now go." Jack dove into the cold water, orienting himself toward the underwater tunnel. Taking the deepest breath he could manage, he submerged and pushed forward into the narrow passage. The darkness was absolute, the walls of the tunnel scraping his shoulders as he propelled himself forward with powerful kicks. 30 seconds underwater had never seemed so long. Jack's lungs began to burn, panic rising as he pushed through the seemingly endless tunnel. Just as his body screamed for air, his hand broke the surface into open space. He emerged gasping into a fast-flowing underground river, the current immediately sweeping him forward. Ahead, he could make out Mia being carried along, and further ahead, a small figure clinging to what must be Luna, the dog swimming powerfully with the current. Behind him came a muffled boom that reverberated through the water. Walsh's insurance had been some kind of explosive, likely collapsing the underwater tunnel to prevent pursuit. The river carried them swiftly through a series of chambers before finally emerging into open air. They were swept into a wider river that flowed through a densely wooded ravine. Luna, with Emma still clinging to her back, made her way expertly to the shore, while Mia and Jack followed, fighting the current. "Emma!" Jack called as soon as he could stand in the shallows. "Are you okay?" Emma sat on the riverbank, soaking wet, but remarkably composed. Luna stood protectively beside her, shaking water from her coat. "I'm okay, Daddy. Luna made sure I didn't swallow any water." Jack pulled his daughter into a tight embrace, relief washing over him. "Don't ever scare me like that again." "Where's Walsh?" Mia asked, scanning the river behind them. As if in answer, a splashing sound announced Walsh's arrival as he fought his way to shore, coughing and sputtering. "Everyone make it," he gasped. "We're all here," Jack confirmed, still holding Emma close. Walsh checked his waterproof watch. "The extraction point is half a mile up this ravine. If we hurry, we can still make it." They set off immediately, wet clothes clinging uncomfortably as they climbed the steep bank of the ravine. Luna took the lead, seemingly energized rather than exhausted by their underwater escape. "The implant," Mia remembered suddenly. "If it's still active, The water might have interfered with the signal temporarily," Walsh said, "but we can't count on that for long. We need to remove it as soon as we reach safety." They pushed forward through the dense forest, following the ridgeline above the river. Despite their exhaustion, fear drove them onward, the knowledge that Pinnacle's forces could still be tracking them, providing powerful motivation. The sound reached them before they saw it, the distinctive whoomp-whoomp of helicopter rotors. As they crested a small rise, they spotted a clearing ahead, where a sleek black helicopter waited, its rotors already spinning. "That's our ride," Walsh confirmed, urging them forward. "Move!" They broke into a run, relief flooding through them at the sight of escape so close at hand. Luna bounded ahead, Emma keeping pace beside her, with a strength that seemed beyond her years. They were halfway across the clearing when Luna suddenly skidded to a halt, her body rigid, hackles raised. Emma stopped beside her, placing a hand on the dog's back. "What is it?" Jack called, rushing to catch up. Emma's face had gone pale. "People waiting in the trees," she whispered, "with guns." Walsh immediately dropped to a crouch, signaling the others to do the same. "Where?" he hissed. Emma pointed to the far side of the clearing. "All around the helicopter. Luna can smell them." Walsh pulled a small pair of binoculars from his pack and scanned the area. "Damn it," he muttered. "She's right. Pinnacle's cleanup team got here ahead of us. That's not my contact's helicopter." "It's a trap," Mia realized. "How did they know about the extraction point?" Jack asked, fear churning in his gut. Walsh's expression hardened. "They didn't. They followed us." His gaze shifted to Luna. The secondary implant is more than just a tracker. It's a full surveillance package, audio, possibly even visual data transmitted back to Pinnacle. They've been watching us through Luna's eyes? Jack was horrified at the implication. And hearing everything we say, Walsh confirmed grimly. That's how they stayed one step ahead of us. That's how they knew about the extraction. Emma knelt beside Luna, her small hands framing the dog's face. "It's not your fault," she whispered. "You didn't know they were using you." Luna whined softly, pressing her head against Emma's chest. The bond between them seemed to deepen with each challenge they faced. "What do we do now?" Mia asked, desperation creeping into her voice. "We're exhausted, soaking wet, and surrounded." Walsh studied the clearing, his military training evident in his methodical assessment. "We need to split up. They're expecting all of us together. I'll create a diversion on the west side. Jack, you take Emma and Luna east, toward that ridge. Mia, head south, back toward the river. Meet up at my cabin, the real one, not the decoy they found earlier." "No," Jack said firmly. "We stay together." "If we stay together, they'll catch all of us," Walsh argued. "This way, some of us have a chance." Before they could debate further, Luna's head snapped up, her attention focused on something in the sky behind them. They turned to see another helicopter approaching, smaller than the one in the clearing, with civilian markings. "That's my contact," Walsh said, relief evident in his voice. "But he'll fly straight into an ambush unless we warn him." Without hesitation, Walsh pulled a signal flare from his pack and fired it into the sky, a bright red warning that arced high above the trees. The approaching helicopter immediately veered away from the clearing, circling cautiously. Their action, however, revealed their position to Pinnacle's forces. Shouts echoed across the clearing as armed figures emerged from the tree line, moving rapidly in their direction. "Run!" Walsh ordered, firing another flare, this one directly at the Pinnacle helicopter. The magnesium flare struck near the fuel tank, causing a momentary distraction as the ground crew scrambled to remove it. They fled back into the forest, Luna leading the way with Emma close behind. Jack carried their emergency pack, while Mia and Walsh brought up the rear, occasionally stopping to lay false trails. Walsh's contact, seemingly understanding the situation, began a series of daring maneuvers, drawing fire from Pinnacle's forces while staying just out of range. The distraction bought them precious minutes to disappear into the dense undergrowth. "This way," Walsh directed, leading them down a nearly invisible game trail. "There's a ranger station 2 miles from here. If we can reach it, there's a radio." They pushed forward, exhaustion warring with adrenaline as they navigated the difficult terrain. Luna never left Emma's side, the dog's powerful body serving as both guide and guardian. They had covered perhaps half the distance when disaster struck. A hidden snare, likely set by Pinnacle's advance team, caught Walsh's ankle as he took the lead. He went down hard, a sharp cry of pain escaping before he could suppress it. Jack rushed to his side, finding Walsh's leg bent at an unnatural angle, clearly broken. "Don't move," he ordered, examining the injury. "Leave me," Walsh gasped through clenched teeth. "I'll only slow you down. The ranger station is straight ahead. Can't miss it." "We're not leaving you," Mia said firmly, already pulling medical supplies from her waterproof bag. The sound of pursuit grew louder. Pinnacle's forces had picked up their trail again. They had minutes at most before they would be surrounded. "Jack," Walsh said urgently, pressing something into his hand. "Take this. It's a kill switch for Luna's implant. Short range, one-time use. Get close enough to activate it, and the implant goes dead permanently." Jack stared at the small device. "You had this all along? Why didn't you use it earlier?" "Because using it could kill her," Walsh admitted. "The implant is connected to her central nervous system. Deactivating it improperly could cause catastrophic damage." "Then we're not using it," Jack said firmly. "You might not have a choice," Walsh insisted. "If Graves gets hold of her, or worse, your daughter..." He left the implication hanging. The connection between them is what Graves really wants. It's the breakthrough he's been working toward. Direct neural communication between enhanced animals and humans. Think what he could do with that technology. Before Jack could respond, Luna growled, a low, warning sound. Emma tensed beside her. "They're surrounding us," she whispered. 12 men, with special guns. "Tranquilizers," Walsh confirmed grimly. "They want Luna and Emma alive." Jack's mind raced. They were trapped, exhausted, with an injured man and no chance of outrunning their pursuers. If they surrendered, Graves would get exactly what he wanted. Luna and Emma, the perfect test subjects for his twisted experiments. If they fought, they would almost certainly lose. Unless... Mia, Jack said quickly, can you stabilize Walsh enough for him to move with help? Mia nodded. Temporary splint, yes, but he won't be fast. He doesn't need to be, Jack decided. Walsh, your contact is still out there, right? Looking for us? Walsh nodded through his pain. Davis won't abandon us. He's a former PJ, pararescue. He'll find a place to set down and come looking. Then we need to get you and Mia to the ranger station, Jack said. If you can reach the radio, you can direct Davis to pick you up. What about you? Mia asked, already working on Walsh's leg. Jack looked at Emma and Luna, his heart heavy with the decision he was making. We're going to create a diversion, lead them away from you. No, Mia protested. They'll catch you. Not if we use their own strategy against them, Jack countered. They're tracking Luna's implant, following it like a beacon. We'll lead them on a chase while you get Walsh to safety and bring back help. Emma moved to her father's side, her eyes solemn but unafraid. We can do it, Daddy. Luna knows these woods better than they do. Jack felt a surge of pride mixed with fear for his brave daughter. Are you sure, Emma? It will be dangerous. Emma nodded, her hand resting on Luna's head. Luna says we can trust her. She won't let them catch us. Walsh grimaced as Mia tightened the makeshift splint. It might work. The cleanup team is focused on recovering the primary assets, the dog and the girl. If you lead them away, Mia and I have a better chance of reaching help. Take the kill switch, Jack instructed, pressing the device back into Walsh's hand. If we're not back in 3 hours, assume we've been captured. Use it as leverage. Tell Graves you'll destroy his precious implant if he doesn't release us. Walsh accepted the device with a nod of understanding. 3 hours. Then I trigger it, regardless of the consequences to Luna. No, Emma said suddenly. Luna says there's another way. She knelt beside the injured man, her small face intense with concentration. She says the implant is in her head, right behind her ear. The doctor can take it out. Mia looked uncertain. I'm a veterinarian, not a surgeon. Removing a brain implant without proper equipment. Luna says it's not in her brain anymore, Emma continued with that eerie certainty. She moved it. It's just under the skin now. She's been pushing it out a little every day since you took the first chip. Walsh stared at the dog in amazement. Self-extraction? That's impossible. The implant is anchored to the skull. Look for yourself, Emma insisted. Mia gently examined the area behind Luna's ear, feeling carefully along the skull. Her eyes widened. She's right. There's something here, just beneath the skin. It's mobile, not anchored at all. Walsh shook his head in disbelief. Incredible. She must have been working at it for weeks, gradually breaking the anchors. Can you remove it? Jack asked urgently, conscious of the approaching danger. Mia took a deep breath. With a local anesthetic and basic tools, yes. It would be like removing a simple tracker chip, not brain surgery. Do it, Jack decided. If we can get that implant out, we can plant it as a false trail while making our real escape. Mia worked quickly, using supplies from her medical kit to numb the area and make a small incision. Luna remained perfectly still throughout the procedure, her eyes locked with Emma's as the child whispered reassurances. When Mia finally extracted the small device, a metallic cylinder no larger than a grain of rice, a collective sigh of relief passed through the group. Now what? Mia asked, holding the bloody implant in a piece of gauze. Jack took it carefully. Now we split up. Mia, help Walsh to the ranger station. Emma, Luna, and I will plant this somewhere to lead Pinnacle's people away, then circle back to meet you. Jack, Mia said, her voice tight with emotion. Be careful. He nodded, squeezing her hand. 3 hours. If we're not at the ranger station by then, don't wait for us. Get Walsh to safety and contact Cooper. The sounds of their pursuers grew closer. They were out of time. With quick final embraces, they separated. Mia helping Walsh limp toward the ranger station, while Jack, Emma, and Luna headed in the opposite direction. The active implant clutched in Jack's hand. Where should we leave this? Jack asked, as they moved quickly through the underbrush. Luna says there's a river crossing ahead, Emma replied. We can put it on something that floats. The bad men will follow it downstream while we go up to the rocks. Jack marveled again at his daughter's connection with Luna. Whatever Pinnacle had done to the dog, they had unwittingly created something beautiful, a bond of trust and communication that transcended normal understanding. The thought that Graves wanted to weaponize this connection made Jack's blood boil. They reached the river, wide and fast-flowing from recent rains. Jack found a small piece of bark and carefully attached the implant to it. "This should carry it for miles," he said, releasing the bark into the current. "Now, let's get to those rocks Emma mentioned." Luna led them upstream, where the terrain became increasingly rocky. They climbed steadily, finding natural paths through the boulders that offered both cover and vantage points to watch for pursuit. From their elevated position, they watched as Pinnacle's forces converged on the river, following the signal of the floating implant. Teams of black-clad operatives spread out along the banks, moving downstream away from their actual location. "It worked," Jack breathed, allowing himself a moment of hope. "Now we circle back toward the ranger station." Carefully, Luna led the way with confidence, choosing paths that kept them hidden from any remaining searchers. Emma kept pace without complaint, her small face set with determination that reminded Jack so much of her mother. They had covered perhaps half the distance to the ranger station when the sound of helicopter rotors returned, but different this time, lighter and more rhythmic. A small civilian helicopter appeared over the ridge, hovering briefly before setting down in a small clearing ahead of them. "Is it a trap?" Jack wondered aloud, pulling Emma behind a large boulder. Luna's ears perked forward, but she showed no signs of alarm. Instead, she gave a soft whine and looked at Emma expectantly. "It's okay, Daddy," Emma said, her voice certain. "It's Walsh's friend. Mia and Mr. Walsh are already inside." Sure enough, as they watched, the helicopter door slid open to reveal Mia waving frantically for them to hurry. Relief flooded through Jack as he recognized Walsh in the co-pilot's seat, his leg properly splinted now. "Come on," he urged, lifting Emma into his arms for a final sprint across the open ground. Luna raced beside them, her powerful body moving with the grace and speed that made her so special. As they reached the helicopter, Mia helped pull Emma inside while Luna leapt gracefully into the cabin. Jack was the last aboard, securing the door as the pilot immediately lifted off. "Cutting it close," Walsh shouted over the engine noise. "Pinnacle's forces realized they were following a decoy about 10 minutes ago. They're converging back this way." Jack collapsed into a seat, exhaustion finally overtaking him as the helicopter banked sharply and accelerated away from the mountains. Emma crawled into his lap, while Luna settled at his feet, her mission to protect them still evident in her watchful posture. "Where are we going?" Jack asked, noticing they were heading away from the city. "My contact's private airfield," Walsh explained. From there, a charter flight to a safe house Cooper arranged. Pinnacle's reached too far this time. The evidence we've gathered, combined with the testimony of their head trainer, he nodded to himself, will be enough for federal charges. "Will it be over then?" Jack asked, stroking Emma's hair as she dozed against his chest. "Will we be safe?" Walsh's expression was somber. Graves won't give up easily, but with the implant removed and their operation exposed, his options will be limited, and Cooper has arranged federal protection for all of you until the case is resolved. Jack looked down at Luna, who had rested her head on Emma's lap. The dog's eyes met his with an intelligence that still amazed him. "And Luna? Legally, she's yours now," Walsh said with a small smile. "I made sure the paperwork was filed as soon as you found her. Pinnacle's ownership claims won't stand up against evidence of abuse and abandonment." As the helicopter carried them toward safety, Jack felt Emma stir against him. "Daddy," she murmured sleepily. "Luna says we saved her, but really, she saved us." Jack stroked Luna's head gently. "I think you're both right, sweetheart. I think you saved each other." 3 months later, the small house at the edge of Millfield was nothing fancy, a modest 3-bedroom with a large fenced yard. But to Jack, it represented everything they had fought for: freedom, safety, a new beginning. He stood on the back porch, watching as Emma ran through the sprinkler, her laughter filling the air like music. Luna raced beside her, no longer the traumatized animal they had found painted like a statue, but a happy, healthy dog whose devotion to Emma never wavered. The mysterious connection between them remained, though less dramatic now that danger had passed. Still, Jack often caught Emma whispering to Luna, and the dog responding with an understanding that went beyond normal training. "Penny for your thoughts?" Mia asked, joining him on the porch with 2 glasses of lemonade. Jack smiled, accepting the drink. Their relationship had grown naturally in the aftermath of their shared ordeal, a slow-blooming romance neither had expected, but both cherished. "Just thinking how lucky we are," he replied. New home, new job, new beginning. The construction company that had hired Jack paid better than landscaping ever had, and Mia's veterinary practice was thriving in its new location just a few miles away. The relocation had been Cooper's suggestion, a fresh start in a town small enough to notice strangers, but large enough to blend in. "Any word from Cooper?" Mia asked, leaning against the railing. Jack nodded. "The case against Pinnacle Elite goes to grand jury next week. With Walsh's testimony and the evidence from the implants, they expect multiple indictments." "And Graves?" "Still in the wind," Jack admitted. "But his company is in ruins, his assets frozen. Cooper says he's probably fled the country." The knowledge that Alexander Graves was still free sometimes kept Jack awake at night, but those moments of fear were increasingly outweighed by the joy of their new life. Walsh visited occasionally, bringing updates on the investigation and spending hours with Luna, marveling at her continued recovery and the bond she shared with Emma. He had found his own path to redemption, working with Cooper to identify and rescue other dogs from Pinnacle's program. "Daddy, Dr. Mia, watch this," Emma called from the yard. She whispered something to Luna, and the dog immediately performed an intricate series of movements that looked like a dance, ending with a gentle bow at Emma's feet. "Did you teach her that?" Mia asked, impressed. Emma shook her head, beaming. "She taught me. She says it's how special dogs say thank you to someone who saved their life." Jack and Mia exchanged glances, both long past questioning the inexplicable communication between child and dog. Some things, they had learned, didn't need scientific explanation to be real and precious. As the summer afternoon stretched lazily around them, Jack reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here. It had started with a painted dog, abandoned and dying in a public park. It had nearly ended in tragedy multiple times. Yet somehow, through courage, compassion, and a bond that defied explanation, they had emerged stronger, together. Luna approached the porch, Emma riding triumphantly on her back, something the powerful dog allowed only for her. The German Shepherd's eyes, once dull with pain and fear, now shone with intelligence and contentment. She had found her place, her purpose, her family. "You know," Jack said quietly to Mia, "when Emma first spotted Luna in the park, she told me the dog was crying inside." Mia nodded, her hand finding his. "And now?" Jack watched as Emma slid from Luna's back, wrapping her arms around the dog's neck in a fierce hug that Luna returned with gentle pressure against the child's shoulder.
"Now," he said, "I think they're both smiling inside."
As if hearing his words, Luna looked up, those intelligent eyes meeting Jack's with what could only be described as happiness. In saving this extraordinary dog, they had all been saved in return, rescued from loneliness, from grief, from the emptiness that had followed Sarah's death. They had become a family again, different but whole. And in a world that sometimes seemed filled with cruelty and darkness, that was nothing short of a miracle. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story about Luna, Emma, and their extraordinary bond, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and if you've ever experienced a special connection with an animal in your life.